Uriel couldn't shake the memory of Prince Dwan's eyes on her. Why did he look at me like that? Was he hinting at something? She found herself staring at him so openly that Ren leaned toward her and muttered, just loud enough for her to hear, that she should tone it down before people noticed. Dwan, meanwhile, praised Sona's playing as if it were heavenly, his voice smooth and gracious. Uriel had to bite back a laugh. To her ears, it was painfully off-key. When Ren asked quietly if she wanted to try another test, she whispered back, "Pointless. Either Dwan isn't a transmigrator, or he's completely tone-deaf." Ren chuckled. "Then why don't you go show off yourself?" Uriel shot him, a horrified look. "We don't even know if he's friend or foe. We can't just reveal ourselves right away." Later that night, back in the Emperor's chambers, they agreed on one thing. Sona was without doubt a transmigrator. But Dwan remained a mystery. Uriel admitted she hoped the prince was one, because if not, Ren's future would only spell trouble. Because Dwan's childhood had been carved out of suffering. His mother, a servant of the Empress, had been beaten to death before his eyes. Ren's own mother died when he was 2, leaving the Empress Dowager as foster mother. Outwardly, she doted on Ren, but she never missed a chance to humiliate him in front of the other princes. Ren's face hardened, but Uriel went on. The crown prince's headaches had often left lessons unfinished, and Dwan, as his study companion, bore the punishments in his place. By the time he was grown, vengeance had consumed him. "If he's the original Dwan," Uriel warned, pacing the room, "then only one of you will survive. But if he's a transmigrator, he knew exactly what Sona played and chose not to react. That kind of calm is terrifying." Ren gave a grunt of agreement. Uriel's own thoughts churned. Dwan's gaze on her throughout the banquet. Had she already given herself away? The following night, the eunuch came to Ren's chambers and asked which consort should serve him. Without hesitation, Ren said Uriel. The eunuch nearly choked. 3 nights in a row. Unheard of. None of the women before had lasted long under Ren's temper. What was so extraordinary about her? When Ren caught the eunuch staring and gripped, his chin, demanding to know if there was a problem, the man panicked and promised to summon her at once. An hour later, Uriel arrived. The eunuch nervously offered to fulfill any requests before she entered. She tilted her head and with complete seriousness asked, "Do you have hot pot?" The eunuch froze. Hot? What? And yet, another hour later, steam curled through the imperial bedchamber. A pot bubbled merrily between them as Uriel leaned forward, muttering that it still felt like something was missing. Ren chuckled and reached for the chopsticks. Better than nothing. Who knows when we'll get the chance again? For a fleeting moment, the two of them looked less like emperor and consort, and more like tired co-workers sharing a midnight meal. Uriel laughed when she almost choked, but Ren's mood darkened again. He spoke of court that morning, how none of the ministers addressed real matters. One advised him where to drink, another suggested what delicacy to try. It felt less like a council, he said bitterly, and more like an end-of-life care center. Uriel sighed. She reminded him that it was too late. Loyal ministers had been exiled, and the generals had defected to Dwan's camp. Even if he wanted to cut the problem off now, he had no one left to carry it out. Ren's hand flew to his temple as another wave of pain struck. Uriel leaned toward him in concern. "Your headache? Does it really hurt that much?" He managed a strained laugh. No wonder the original host was so dim. Probably lost all his brain cells from this pain. Uriel almost smiled at the remark, though her thoughts were far from light. Sona, the Heaven's chosen daughter, still hides unknown abilities. Prince Dwan, transmigrator or not, is not someone to be taken lightly. And as for Ren, aside from being adaptable, I see little else remarkable. Her gaze lingered on him as he winced through the pain. For all his bravado, the storm around them was only growing darker. The hot pot bubbled in the Emperor's chamber, steam filling the air. Uriel lifted a ladle, filled a bowl, and placed it in front of Ren, who sat slouched, one hand pressed against his temple. "I've thought about it," she said while handing it over. "Winning over Sona is very necessary. She's the chosen heroine of the original story. If she joins us, our chances of defeating Prince Dwan will be much greater. Everyone transmigrated here just to survive, so why fight each other?" Ren accepted the bowl with a weary grunt. "Fine. Tomorrow, make contact with her. And what about me?" "You," Uriel replied, "should approach Zhao, Dwan's strategist. Many of Dwan's actions were plotted by him." Before Ren could respond, the broth began to burn low. Uriel jumped up in alarm. "The pot's drying out. Water, quickly." Her voice carried so loudly that the maids outside rushed in. They froze when they saw the Emperor himself calmly pouring water into the pot, but his glare made them fall to their knees at once. "This servant deserves death," they cried. "Get out," Ren commanded, his tone icy. The door slammed shut behind them. Uriel gave him a sideways glance. "You're really good at acting," Ren smirked. "Not bad. Bluffing and posturing. Inevitable in business. I got used to it." "He almost fooled me too," Uriel thought with a sigh. Back at the table, the conversation returned to Zhao. Uriel explained that he had joined Dwan because his father was slandered and exiled. Zhao himself should have shared that fate, but Dwan had secretly saved him. Since then, Zhao had hidden in Dwan's residence, never giving up the mission of restoring his father's name. Ren leaned back casually. "Then I'll find him directly. Offer to bring his father back, on the condition he swears loyalty to me." Uriel frowned. "It won't be that simple. He still has a grudge against you. He'll confront you." To make her point, she slipped suddenly into Zhao's role. Her voice sharpened, accusing. "Why did you misjudge good and evil back then, causing my father to suffer false accusations?" Ren blinked at first, then slipped smoothly into character himself. "I was nothing, but a mad king, eyes covered, ears shut. Loyal or treacherous, wasn't it all decided by a single memorial?" Uriel pressed on. "Since your majesty already knew Grand Tutor Wei slandered without proof, why did you still rely on him?" Ren gave a bitter laugh. "Pitiful. Even now you still think it was that old man who ruined your father." "Wrong," Uriel cut in immediately, breaking character for a heartbeat. "Grand Tutor Wei isn't old." Ren smirked, adjusted, and tried again. "All right then. Pitiful. You still think it was that bastard who ruined your father?" Uriel, still in the role of Zhao, stepped closer. "Then who was the true mastermind?" Ren leaned forward, his voice dark and heavy. "Think carefully. Who foresaw everything, spared your life, and took you in as his guard dog?" Uriel staggered back, eyes wide. "Prince Dwan? Impossible. You're lying. Don't trick me." "You can check for yourself," Ren replied coldly, turning his back before glancing over his shoulder with a grin. "Well, how was my performance?" Uriel burst out laughing, giving him a thumbs up. "Awesome. Then it's settled," Ren said. "Tomorrow we split up. Happy cooperation."